A $5 USB cigarette lighter adapter is perfectly capable of charging your consumer electronics. However, you could also get yourself a $999 portable power station like the DJI Power 1000, only 200 times more expensive. Now let's talk about the pros and cons. The comparison is not quite as ridiculous as you might think. We have for years relied on various ways of charging our equipment when out and about, be it little adapters for our cars, inverters to give us AC power from that cigarette lighter, power banks, extension cables, and nowadays, of course, we have these lovely portable power stations. Is it a necessity or an expensive luxury? It totally depends on what you're planning on using it for. It's hard for me to say in your case, but by the end of this video, you'll hopefully have the information required to make an informed judgment. We've been using both the Power 1000 and 500 for 8 months or so. It's taken us a while to get around to making this video. They are beautiful, well-made pieces of kit. In terms of our use, the two AC ports charge our laptops when we are on the go. We then use the two USB-C ports for anything that will accommodate faster charging power delivery, like our drone battery hubs, for example, the DJI Pocket 3 that is filming me now, all these other things. The USB-A ports we use for charging more things like drone controllers, action cameras, and then we also have the option of the new proprietary SDC ports that DJI has brought to give us even faster charging for the likes of drone batteries. We don't actually have any of the cables for those SDC ports, so we've just been using good old-fashioned USB. On one hand, I think it's fantastic that DJI has innovated in this space. They haven't just brought out their version of a jackery product, for example. So if fast charging a Mavic 3 battery, for example, is very important to you, then great, you can use the SDC ports. The issue I've got with proprietary ports is that they're just that, they're proprietary ports. So it locks you down in a new kind of ecosystem of connectivity. I don't know if I'm being unreasonable here, but if I'm honest, I would have preferred another couple of USB-C ports on the device, in addition to the SDC ports, should you grow into the SDC side of things. Is that being greedy? Our main use case for a portable power station is charging and continuously powering consumer electronics. Now, they don't draw that much power in the grand scheme of things. The DJI Power 1000 can give you continuous power output of 2,200 watts. That's a lot of watts. With that in mind, we had a bit of fun with our power tools trying to see what we could get out of the DJI Power 1000. Now, our chop saw drew, I don't know, 1,000, 1,200 watts. Our pneumatic drill thing, SDS drill, 800 watts. I don't even know. I'll show it all on the screen as we speak. We didn't get anywhere near 2,200, and it wasn't for running two things at once. There are loads of use case scenarios where you might need that kind of power output. I just want to put a little bit of kind of reality around it for some people. If you need a chop saw in your front garden, like you might see in promotional materials, run an extension cable. You don't need a $999 power station. If, of course, you're chopping wood in a forest, because that's where you're building a log cabin. That's a whole other story. The biggest draw we got on it was our George Foreman grill, where we were able to pull, I think, 1.5 kilowatts, 1,500 watts when making our toasties. And they were delicious toasties, better than anything you will buy in a petrol station. So there are lots of great uses for this, but like I say, I'm not going to sit here and be like, how did we live without this? How did we live without 2.2 kilowatts of portable power in the boot of our car? I do not know. I don't want to go down that route. With that in mind, if we're talking about consumer electronics, drones, the DJI Power 500 I think is a great option. It can output 1,000 watts, which is more than enough for charging everything you've got in the boot of your car. If you can pick it up on sale for $379, I think it's an attractive option. Having a power station like that means that you might not have to buy extra batteries, for example. Batteries can be expensive, so you're already starting to generate a return on your investment. Added to that, your DJI Power 500 should last you the best part of 10 years, if not more so. Slightly more lifespan than a drone battery. Let's put some numbers on the performance you could expect from these units. The DJI Power 1000 is a 1,024 watt-hour battery pack. The DJI Power 500 is at 512 watt-hour battery pack. If we talk about a Mavic 3 battery, for example, we normally refer to that as being a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. Now that converts into a 77 watt-hour battery pack to understand how many charges we can get of that out of our DJI Power. We take the capacity of the DJI Power battery, let's say 1024, divide it by 77 watt hours, account for maybe 90% efficiency of the battery, and that gives us 12 or 13 charge cycles of the battery in question, the Mavic 3 battery. If you want to know how long one of these appliances can continuously power something, then we look at the wattage of the appliance. Let's say it was an electric heater. It could be a 2 kilowatt electric heater. That's 2,000 watts. We take the 1,000 watt capacity of the DJI Power 1000, divide it by 2,000 watts, the draw that's going to be on that electric heater, and we have 0.5. So 0.5 of an hour, 30 minutes. So a 2 kilowatt device, about 30 minutes. Back in the world of consumer electronics, our MacBook Pro laptops, they draw about 100 watts when they're being used. So 1,000 divided by 100, about 10 hours or so of continuous power to a MacBook Pro. You don't need to do any of those calculations because there's a very nice bright display on the devices showing you not only the capacity remaining of the battery, but how long you can expect it to go for, depending on what's plugged in at any point in time. In terms of getting power back into the devices, both of them can be charged in 70 minutes from mains power. Now, by contrast, we have an e-bike, enormous battery, takes 8 hours to charge, different technology, I know, all that kind of stuff. But to be able to charge such a big battery like the DJI Power 1000 or 500 in 70 minutes, it's practical. In terms of whether the DJI Powers are a necessity or a luxury, it's kind of hard to say from your perspective because I don't know what you're planning on doing with something like that. From our perspective, I would go as far as to say that the DJI Power 500 is almost a necessity for us, especially if you could pick it up at that reduced price. Much as we've got by for 10 years without one of these units, it's been a struggle. Every portable power solution has drawbacks. Yes, you can pick up a little $5 cigarette adapter that gives you extra USB slots. In fact, your car, if it's relatively modern, probably has them built in nowadays, so you can draw power straight off the battery without the little adapter. So they're cheap and small. That is great, but they don't put out that much power, maybe 20, 30 watts. So your charging is not going to be very fast. Also, you have to be sat in your car doing it, probably with the engine on as well, because you need to be careful not to diminish the power of your car battery. Done that before. Another thing we bought a few years ago was an inverter. Again, it plugs into your cigarette lighter and it converts your DC power from the battery into AC power so you can plug in the likes of a laptop charger. That is a great purchase, I must admit. Again, you're very dependent on your car battery, but it can give you 200-300 watts of output, which is loads to power a laptop, for example, and take advantage of the fast charging capability of a DJI Mavic 3 charging hub or whatever it is that you're charging. Power banks are an absolute necessity with what we do. If I'm out with a Mini 4 Pro, for example, I'll have the little charging hub in my backpack, I'll have a power bank, and every time the drone's not in the air, it's charging in my bag. You can't lug around a DJI Power with you. So in terms of those things, they're portable and you can move them. Yeah, sure, I can pick one up. I can't walk around with it. I certainly can't carry it in my bag. So everything has drawbacks. At risk of repeating myself, I don't know your needs, your wants, your budget, your use case scenario. So I can't tell you that you need a DJI Power 500 or 1000. You make up your own mind on that. What I can tell you, it's a beautiful piece of kit. Unquestionably, it feels quality. It is extremely well built, nice to use, and it's just a bit of a luxury having one in the boot. You do feel kind of privileged owning one. It's extremely practical from our perspective. I honestly would find it difficult to go back to plugging in endless inverters, cigarette adapters, car chargers, all these kind of things, making sure that you're sat in the car with the engine on so you don't drain your battery in the middle of nowhere. That's our own personal experience. What do you think? Let us know in the comments.